The 14th of July 2025 marks 25 years since the official UK release of Thomas and the Magic Railroad. It's certainly a divisive film among the fandom, with many claiming it to be the beginning of the end for the franchise. And due to the more fantastical storyline, translating the film's characters to the Railway series style may be my hardest challenge yet. I won't know until I've tried, however, so I'll give it a go. Diesel 10 is at least based on a real engine, the British Railways Class 42 warship. Drawing one of these was undoubtedly the easy part. I wanted to depict the scene that appears at the start of the film where Diesel 10 races through a station, taking Thomas and Gordon by surprise. In the film this happens at some nondescript station that never shows up again, but I was thinking that it would make more sense in the Railway series timeline to have Thomas and Gordon meet at Knapford Junction. I guess either James or Henry is pulling the express today. This is the third time I've attempted this drawing. The first time round I drew Knapford from a high angle similar to a lot of Clive Spong illustrations, but I didn't think it conveyed the scene very well. Next I drew it from a lower angle, but I realised midway through colouring the background that Diesel 10 was facing the wrong way. I decided to draw from an angle similar to that of the first illustration from the Fat Controller's engines, but my woes weren't over yet. I lost the recording of the background being coloured in. I didn't forget to record it, but when I was saving the video I accidentally tapped the screen in the wrong place and the window closed. I wish Sketchbook would at least provide an "Are you sure?" window before closing to prevent this sort of thing from happening. Anyway, because Diesel 10 is from the other railway, I've painted him in BR green as opposed to the more olive shade he has in the film and subsequent appearances. You may also notice that I've given him the number D871. Why is this? Well, the numbering scheme of the warships went from D800 to D870. All of the warships, both the Class 42 and the 43 subclass, had names, so I figured that Diesel 10 would have been an unnamed addition to the class, since otherwise the other engines could have just referred to him by name. Why do they call him Diesel 10 if that's not his number? Well, it's possible that they don't. In Magic Railroad he only gets referred to as Diesel 10 once or twice in the entire film. Usually he's just called Diesel, which, isn't confusing at all. But alternatively, D871 may have given himself the name because he considers himself a 10 out of 10 for speed and reliability. Or maybe he considers himself a 10 out of 10 for speed and reliability only to never display these strengths during his visit, leading the other engines to disparagingly nickname him Diesel 10. Why is he on Sodor? Well, I thought I'd play up the fact that Edward is absent in the original film. Perhaps Gordon tells Thomas that he didn't see Edward at his station that morning, and when Diesel 10 rattles through they wonder if Edward is being replaced. Despite running a branch line, Edward still makes trips to and from the big station, as shown in Wrong Road, so Diesel 10 could be taking one of Edward's trains. As for why he doesn't have a claw, my answer would be, don't worry, that will be answered. This isn't Diesel 10's only appearance in this video. With all that said, here is the finished image. If it isn't obvious yet, Diesel 10 has been brought in to work Edward's branch line whilst he's busy elsewhere. Diesel 10 has taken up the job mainly because he knows that Sodor is pretty much entirely run by steam engines, and he is eager to decommission them. He is especially ecstatic when he learns of a scrapyard on Edward's branch. He's more interested in scrapping the steamies than doing any of Edward's work. So on his way to Sodor he enlists the help of two diesel shunters, who go along with Diesel 10's plan because they have nothing to lose. They offer little resistance when Diesel 10 tells them to do the bulk of the branch line work because, being shunting engines, they're used to being ordered about. Splatter and Dodge's drivers are friends and share a hobby of tinkering and making rudimentary inventions. During their time on the mainland, they created a removable claw attachment for locomotives, mainly to lift and carry scrap metal. The attachment proved too big and heavy for either Splatter or Dodge, but it fits Diesel 10 like a glove. It works well for lifting scrap metal into trucks, but Diesel 10 is a bit disappointed that he won't be scrapping living, breathing engines. Splodge, as Diesel 10 calls them, informed Diesel 10 about a mystery engine on Sodor. They overheard Edward talking about them as he was leaving Wellsworth for his new job. A glint appears in Diesel 10's eye. As with Diesel 10, I've painted Splatter and Dodge into BR green since they're from the other railway and would have been painted in the standard colours of the time being around 1962 or so. One thing of note, which I didn't intend when first drawing this scene, is that Splatter, the engine closest to Diesel 10, looks very similar to Paxton. All I'll say is that we've never seen Splatter and Paxton in the same scene together. With that said and done, here is the finished drawing. The other engines still haven't been informed about Edward's new job. Rumours spread like wildfire. There's already the rumour of Diesel 10 being a replacement for Edward. But why would Edward be replaced? The Fat Controller is on holiday, so they can't ask him. Then they remember about the bridge outside Crovan's Gate. This was damaged during World War II, and although it was repaired, the repair job was not intended to be permanent. As such, 20 years on, it was beginning to show some wear. Could Edward have had an accident there? The big engines haven't seen anything, but Thomas wants to know for himself. He arranges to head out onto the main line, but before he can make it to Crovan's Gate, he sees Edward returning light engine on the down line. Thomas is thrilled that Edward is okay. Edward explains that he had just taken some supplies for the men to repair the faulty bridge, but that's not the main thing he's been occupied with over the past few weeks. He's been renovating an old branch line, complete with its own engine. After many trials and tribulations, the engine is in steam, but needs to go to Crovan's Gate Works for an inspection. She doesn't know the way, and so Edward asks Thomas if he wants to help her to the works. Thomas meets Lady at the old Kirk Ronan terminus and escorts her to the works, but they both get a shock once they're on the main line. Diesel 10, now with his claw attachment, has heard all about it and chases the two engines. Let's hope the bridge outside Crovan's Gate will be strong enough to hold Lady and Thomas. It definitely won't take the weight of a warship. Now this was the most interesting scene to draw because Lady is, infamously, not based on a pre-existing class of engine. Even Percy has elements of certain locomotive designs despite not being based on anything specific, but Lady is completely fictional. There have been attempts to assign a class to Lady retroactively. There's this design, but it's a model rather than a real engine. There's also this design from the Liverpool Overhead Railway, but it has a well tank rather than side tanks. Personally, I think one of Lady's closest lookalikes might be Captain Baxter. This engine was built by Fletcher Jennings in the 1870s. I've also taken some details from engines that this company built for the Severn and Wye Railway. I've kept Lady's magenta-ish colour scheme with the gold lining and fittings, albeit with a more standard black smokebox and red buffer beam. My thinking is that Lady ran the Kirk Ronan branch line during the North Western Railway's early years, since the Sodor and mainland engines, which would have run the line beforehand, would have all been either scrapped or relocated by this point. She was brought second-hand from an industrial line and possibly named after Lady Hat, the Fat Controller's wife. As for her lack of number, she was likely originally withdrawn before the NWR numbered their engines, and despite now running a regular service, she is officially a heritage engine, and thus not part of the same numbering scheme as the other engines. When the Fat Controller returned from his holiday, he was pleased to see the Kirk Ronan line all ready for its grand reopening. Diesel 10 had fallen off the bridge into a river barge, and so Hat made arrangements to send him to the nearest mainland port with a rail connection. Splatter and Dodge had done a great job working Edward's branch line, and so the Fat Controller made sure to put in a good word about them to their own controller. And so all was well. The bridge was soon fixed, Lady's branch line reopened, and Edward returned to his own branch line. And so, here is the completed drawing. And there you have it, the Thomas and the Magic Railroad engines in a Railway Series style. Perhaps the biggest challenge, and maybe the biggest deviation from the source material I've done so far, but I think I've managed to get something that kind of works. Let me know your thoughts by commenting down below, and subscribing if you haven't already.